Good morning, everyone. This is Shelly Reamer. I am a spiritual guide, and I am here to do some spiritual guiding 1 week after the election. You will find that if you were triggered by the election, this is going to be very, very helpful to you. And this is meant to help us get grounded, help us recover from the shock of the energy and the energy shift that happened last week is affecting everyone. It doesn't matter who's quote unquote side you're on. I mean, there was a drastic shift in energy and consciousness that took place last week that is causing a lot of us who are sensitive to feel some really major whiplash. So I just want to dive right in. The first thing I want to share with you is how I'm experiencing it. One thing my spiritual guides have shown me over and over again as I work with people is that many of us, what we experience is universal. So what I'm experiencing and how I go about taking care of myself is something that I often share at the behest of my guides. So what I have been experiencing, and I think this is so important to share with you, it took me a few days to realize what was going on for me, but right into fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Like I went right into trauma, instinct, the fight flight mode. The way that I did it, for me, what I chose, what my instinct of feeling endangered and unsafe by the outcome of the election, because that is how I experience it. Donald Trump does not feel like a safe choice for our country, for the world. Of course, people may differ in that opinion, and that's okay. But I'm to that point. I don't normally speak politics as a spiritual guide, but because of what's going on, I have to. I have to say, and that's where I stand on that. So, I'm not here to disenfranchise anybody. I feel like most of the people that I work with one on one, we are of similar mind, similar energy. So I don't think I'm going to have a lot of people fleeing from me as I share this. But that was my experience when I heard the results of the election. And I've pretty much been in frozen mode since then. And it was a couple days ago that I realized it. So my question for you all and what I want to offer is to look and see, are you in a mode of survival? And if so, let's think about some ways that we could start to like unfreeze or unfight or unflee. I don't know if anybody is fawning at this point, because who are we fawning to? I imagine a great deal of us are probably stuck in freeze. What is it? So let me just explain that. So when we feel in danger, and many of you may know this, but let's do a little review. When we feel in danger, the body has an automatic system. It's a very good system. It's a very worthwhile and good system that we need. It's necessary, where we are either going to fight to save ourselves, to defend ourselves, to protect ourselves. We're going to run like hell. We might fawn, which means that, and that's a more of an emotional response. You don't see that in the wild. You don't see, maybe in cartoons, but you don't see like a little mouse trying to seduce a cat, or, not seduce, but like, cajole them into like, oh, please don't kill me. I'm so cute. But that's very much an emotional response. Usually people fawn when they can't fight and they can't flee. When they feel trapped, they will fawn. And then the last one is freezing, which is very common. So I imagine a lot of us are going into freezing, because when you have something as large as the president of a huge country, and not just a president, but a whole way of thought, a whole agenda, all these policies that we've been here before, now it looks worse, right? So what are we fighting? There's no conversation. I mean, who are we going to fight? Who are we, where are we going to go? Now, I do want to say that you do see this online. I mean, there were people online shortly after the election that I could tell where they were in fight mode, and they were yelling into their cameras, F you and I hate you. And it was a lot of fight energy. That's not the greatest option. I think some people may have said and done things that as they start to come out of that, I'm not judging anybody, but the fight response could be a little tough sometimes to recover from, because you're like, damn, I said some stuff. Now, the fleeing mode are the people who are like, you know what, I'm just leaving. I'm going to get out of the country, or I'm just turning it off. I will not look. That was my initial response. I was like, I'm not going to look at any of this. Like, I'm done. But of course, it's hard to completely not look and unplug and not participate in the world around you. So that's why I think a lot of people have gone into freeze. What is freeze going to look like? Freeze is going to look like on the couch, not feeling like doing much, not really feeling terribly emotional, but just kind of frozen. You might have kind of body aches and pains. Your body might feel stiff. If you have any sort of inflammatory things that go on for you, arthritis or just general joint stiffness, that might be worse at this time. You might find yourself overeating. So that the freeze response is very much kind of like a deer in headlights. I do want to say that none of these responses are wrong. They're actually good. The problem that we get into is when we stay stuck. So there's this thing called functional freeze response, where we kind of live in that frozen response. There could be functional fight response. I mean, you could be like in a functional survival response. So I want you to ask yourself some questions like, am I feeling frozen? Am I on high alert? Am I vigilant? Do I have my dukes up? And it's time right now, I'm going to encourage everyone, it's a week out from election, to return to self, to return to shutting down for just a moment. Can't shut out the world forever. We just shut it out temporarily and we look inside and we go, how are we? How am I? How are you? Take a breath. Check in with yourself. How do you feel in your physical body right now? If you are feeling tension, I would recommend doing some breath work to relax. There was a person on my last video who asked a great question. She said, I can't feel the light. Like, do you have any suggestions? Of course, I say I always have suggestions for finding the light. But one of the first things that we have to do is get in touch with ourselves and really feel what is going on with me. The shift that happened last week was very, very dramatic. I cannot imagine that there isn't a person who hasn't felt it in some way. Even the children who are not political, they're going to be feeling it because of the people around them. That's why there was the sense of calm around here when I would go out, but I think it was just a bit of a shock. Again, no matter who you voted for, the shift was a whiplash. And it's helpful right now to start coming out of it. So how do we come out of our shocked response? Again, first of all, do it in the body. Gentle movement, breath. Pay attention to yourself. Give yourself some time to check in. Breath work. One of the easiest ways to calm ourselves is with the measured breath. You inhale. I'm just going to use 7 as an example. Inhale to the count of 7. Hold for the count of 7. Exhale to the count of 7. Take a break, take a little pause, and then just do that for a couple minutes. It will return you to yourself, and it helps your nervous system like downshift. And you could do it for whatever count. I say 7, whatever count is comfortable for you, but you want it to be the same count. And you'll start to, now when you start to melt a little bit, if you've been in fight, flight, free, whatever mode you've been stuck in this past week, you may then begin to feel your emotions. I have been kind of stuck in freeze mode, and I have also been doing my regular meditation practices in the morning. And as soon as I start to release and I start to feel that reconnection with the divine, 9 times out of 10, I start crying. It is the melting and the movement of those frozen emotions. So the first step is relaxing and opening, and the next step is let the emotions come. Be in touch with your own emotion. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to feel pretty. That's why we avoid them, but you will feel so much better after you let this emotion start to move. So returning to the light is this kind of the same as returning to the self. Return to yourself. You want to do this with a lot of compassion. Again, breath work, expression of self. If you have a therapist, call your therapist. This is a great time to call your therapist. Get some self-care. So And take some time off if you can, just even a couple hours to just be, let yourself be. When someone asks about connecting with the light, the guides always say it's the same in good times as it is in bad times. How do we connect with the light? The methods are the same. It's just harder in hard times to do it. I've been using this imagery. I've been using the imagery of me like sitting on a bench and a dark cloud came over. Now, I've had many dark clouds come over in my life. You guys have too. What is a dark cloud? It could be a sudden illness. It could be a trouble in a relationship. It could be money worries. It could be the loss of someone that we love. And then it could also be world events that we're upset about. So a cloud moves in, right? And suddenly we're like, and it's like the sun has gone away. But that's not true. The sun is always shining. The clouds are temporary. So a cloud has moved in. A way that we can stay connected with the light is by knowing and imagining and using imagery to know that that sun is still shining upon me. I can see it shining through the cloud onto me. It doesn't make the cloud necessarily go away, but it does dissipate the energy or the intensity of it. If the cloud, and let's name the cloud, let's say it's despair. Let's say it's fear. So the cloud has a lot of fear. If we're looking at the cloud and we go cloud, 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 fear, 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 oh my God, it's going to seem like the fear is going to seem very real and very dense and impenetrable. But if we go fear, but beyond the fear is the light. Beyond the fear is that divine connectivity. If we're focused on that, it's going to dissipate. It's going to make that fear or that cloud seem less powerful. I think of it, we can use the cloud. We can also think of it as like fog. What always burns off the fog? When the sun comes out, it burns the fog away. So that imagery has been really helpful to me. And even as I'm speaking these words, I can feel the energy of the light upon me. And it lessens the fear, and it also relaxes me, and it lessens that need for my fight-flight response, right? So practice that kind of imagery. Again, the guides say the connecting with the light is the same in good times and in bad times. It's just harder in bad times because when we're in fight-flight, the brain, we're not relaxed. We have to first do the work of relaxing before we can really start connecting. So lots of deep self-care. And also, this is a journey of faith. It's just like all troubled times. And it is a journey. Nothing about this is going to be resolved shortly. Just like us with any, new endeavor or any election, we kind of we get on a ride. We've gotten on a ride here. It's not a ride that a lot of us chose. And I think that's also the difficulty, is that you're like, this is not the ride that I wanted. But we collectively live here together and other people chose it. But I want to say, the guides are very clear that the outcome is going to be a better way. The outcome. Now, the journey getting to the outcome, we don't know. So we need to protect ourselves. We need to protect vulnerable communities. We need to be protective towards those that we love, because we don't know but we can trust, and this is the faith, that the end game is going to be higher consciousness. The end game is going to be more awakening. The end game is going to be more light. We are spiritually evolving. There is universal intelligence to how all this is going down. I think that there was a necessity to choose this road, to end the road, if that makes sense. We're going to see this through. What is this? It is... how much more to say? How political am I going to get about this? We all know the messages that Donald Trump has talked about. We all know what he has said towards vulnerable communities. Nobody is confused anymore about who Donald Trump is and what he stands for and what he's told us that we're going to do, that he's going to do. Oh, listen to that. What we're going to do, what he's going to do, what he wants to do. And And there's something about him walking that road with all this power that is actually going to lead to the end of that road, so that a new day can come where we can live in the truth, the spiritual truth that we all are one. That's the ignorance of the messages of, this division, and what I do to my brother and sister, I also do to myself. This is the truth. We are all one. That's why that message is never going to be sustainable. No path of division has ever lasted. It always comes to an end. Now, the scary thing is, like, well, what is this road going to look like on the way to the end of that? And that's where we need to get ourselves aligned in the light. We need to gather in community, go get into meditation practice with other people, do your yoga, but, surround yourself with loving people, and make sure your spiritual light is shining, which means we can't hate back. We can't have it both. We can't shine our spiritual light and hate. We can shine our spiritual light and have boundaries. That's actually smart. We can shine our spiritual light and say, I disagree. No, that is not my way. But we cannot shine our spiritual light and hate. I was really trying hard, not to get off topic. I'm not sure if I have, but okay. This is a time I want to encourage you all to return to self, return to the light. Return to self, return to the light. I'm going to draw a couple cards. I forgot to mention that Melchizedek was the guide that came forward. If you guys have any other questions, just put them in the comments. I knew one of my struggles right now in teaching and speaking is that I've been really triggered by this too, you guys. I am like, so, I'm having to set aside my tendency to be perfectionistic about my teaching and how I speak and just put stuff out here and just give you my apologies if I go on, because for those of you, and I know a lot of you, I think have, studied with me or with Heather Ogilvy about channeling. To be a proper channel, it's all about our own internal well-being. It's all about our own calmness, our centeredness, our own peace, our detachment. This is going to expose, I know for me, it's exposing my attachment, it's exposing my fear, it's exposing where I don't trust. I will say this also, every single challenge that we have in this life is meant to grow us, to make us stronger. Nothing has really changed since last week. Your spiritual gifts still meant to be given, maybe even more. Your purpose in life, your karmic journey, still the same. The fact that, we are on a very long spiritual evolutionary path that has existed for lifetimes, still true. We're just living through this time. It is very important that we not get lost in the delusion of what's happening here. It is delusional. It's not going to last. Someday, we're all going to be pushing up daisies or whatever that saying goes. So our work of knowing the divine and knowing ourselves as God, that is not changed at all. What has changed is maybe how we're feeling inside ourselves about everything. The level of our anger, the level of our preoccupation. Okay, let me draw some cards and then I'm going to wrap this up. I'm just going to send this with all thoughts of love and light and just care for ourselves. The more grounded you can return to your center, the better. So I hope that this has lended some gravity to you. And also just really, I know for myself, it's time to get unfrozen from my fight-flight response. And we turn to spiritual practice. All right, I'm going to pull 3 cards and see what they have to say. Yep. This card, I always think of Melchizedek. So this is the study and learning card. Melchizedek, who's been coming through so much, he's the great teacher. He When I work with Melchizedek, and I know that there are people out there who know a lot more about him as a being than I do. So all I can tell you is my personal experience. When I feel him, I feel like I'm in class and he's like a beloved teacher. He's showing me things. So that's, we are in a, keep your eyes open, keep your heart open, keep asking the question, what am I meant to be learning right now? This is going to keep you in the forefront of your energy and your life, as opposed to kind of slumping into any sense of like, I don't like what's happening. And sorry, I'm still getting over this cold. Yeah, it'll keep you from slumping. That's my thing. Cause I'm a slumper, if you know, and I get overwhelmed, overstimulated. What am I learning? What am I meant to be learning about? You ask your guides this question, they will deliver answers. Second card is Archangel Raphael, the divine physician. This is a time of healing. This is a time of asking for repair. So where do you need repair? Again, return to self, return to light, return to care. Where do you need repair? Invite Archangel Raphael into it. I need a lot of care. That the energy of all this has been really hard on my physical body. I started feeling problems in my physical body before the election, and then afterwards for sure. And I think it has something to do with that fight flight, and also any of you out there like myself who suffer from PTSD or CCPTSD or CPTSD, any of the PTDs, this is gonna kind of mess you up for a little bit. So it's time to know what's going on and take care of it. The energies of healing are here. The miracle of nature, and I forgot to mention this, so I love that Melchizedek brought this up. Go get out among the trees. Forget about, every day when I say my prayers, I pray for the world and I pray for the earth. What do I mean by that? The world is man created. That's our institutions. That's like the man world. Earth is Mother Earth. We go out in nature to get away from the world, and we do our meditation to get away from the world. We need to get away from the world and all the chatter. Try not to pay too much attention to all of it and just go get in the trees. And then the last card is Orion, manifesting miracles. We must have faith and believe that all things are unfolding in its proper order. Our jobs are to stay aligned with the divine, nothing else. That's the most important thing. Our purpose on earth is to know ourselves as God, to know ourselves as light, and then to learn to embody that. So trust in how this is unfolding and go back to the business again. Return to self, return to light of enlightening. Return to your path and trust that all is unfolding as it should. And stargaze if need be. Okay, well, I'm sending this out with all blessings. And again, I'm on this journey with you, and I am going to send out my messages as they come through. And my little Virgo self may not like that they're not coming out perfectly, but yeah, this one flipped out. It's Krishna, divine power. This is the divine Father. I almost can hear the voice of God, the divine Father saying, with all of our fear, you think I can't make things better for you? You think I can't write things? I mean, the power of divine light energy is so powerful. We have to trust that things are unfolding. There is a purpose to this, and it is not the purpose of destruction. It might be the purpose of destruction of something, but it is not the purpose of destruction of light or love. No. And the one last thing that I do want to say, it's coming through, is I know there's a lot going on where people are kind of comparing what's going on to other dictatorships and fascism and darkness. There was, this resurgence of Nazi energy last night up in Michigan. The difference between those times and now is you and me and the voices who say, I stand for love and I'm not going to be quiet about that. So keep speaking for love. Keep speaking with love, strength. We can be strong and warm. We can be firm and kind. We can do this. Last thing, connect with music. So, okay, I'm going to go. I will be back soon. And I'm holding space for all of you. Sending you lots of love. Take care.